now is I want to buy this back, but I want to buy it back at a cheaper price. So where am I going to buy it back at a cheaper price? I'm watching to see what happens when we go below 76. So I want to find that cheaper price to buy back into. I take it down into a 1 minute chart to see if I get any triggers on the way down. And when I look for a trigger on the way down, I don't find any. You can see that. I don't find any triggers. And I'm wondering, you know, how far it's going to have to go. Well, we could probably guess that realistically, to get a trigger to buy into, we're probably going to have to go below here. But we always look at 2 time frames lower. We don't just stop at 1 time frame. We go down to 2 time frames. So if I want to get a little bit more fruity with it, I can always drop it down to the 30-second. And there's my trigger right there. You see it? See the black line? That's my buy trade. So you can see I've now got my opportunity to get into this. There's my target number 1 appearing just there. So I'm able to then close out my first position there. And like I said before, we then go from black line to black line, and it finds me my target price for those algorithms. There's my target price for those algorithms. My idea is that I should then look to try and execute a bit of money at that stage. And that means that we've taken a buy trade from 75.90 to a high price of 76.24. And we've picked ourselves up another 25, 30 pips, 35 pips, depending upon the price of entry here. So you've picked up maybe 35 pips plus, of course, your 15 pips or so on that trade there. So about 50 ticks in total from that buy trade as well. So again, the idea of being able to look for the trades that you're trying to find. And now that I've managed to get profits out there, I'm going to go back looking again. I'm going to go back looking to see if I can get back into a buy trade. Now, we like the buy trades because we told you last night we would rather be long oil at discount prices. Well, this is one way we can try and find discount prices. We look for those discounts. We try and find the buy trade, but we're able to still move away from the discount price and still buy on the way out from the discount rather than get ourselves caught up in trying to call the bottom edge every single time we try and deal. And that's the kind of thing that we're trying to get you to try and do more often, is avoid the bottom edges and trade the good stuff when it presents itself. Equities, I don't know if anybody took another shot at some equities. 1920 could be a price that you paid, get some business done in there. That might have been a thing for you, I'm not sure. But the value still looked good. So if you were looking at it from a value perspective, that retest of the lows could certainly have got you a little bit excited about an opportunity there, a little bit excited. And again, if it's a very tight range, you want to look down in your lower time frames to find that trade opportunity. And if you look down in your lower time frames, if you're looking for that as a buy trade, you may well have been able to find yourself in and around the right price. There it is right there. There's your trigger for a buy. You can see it. Trigger for a buy, sell side liquidity. So we buy from sell side liquidity. So that's going to be our buy trade, that candle right there. And obviously that's assuming we wanted to be long equities at that point. Assuming we want to be long equities at that point, there is our opportunity to do so. So when we come back out of it, we can see where that buy trade is. It's in a good location. We can obviously see that you might have got scratched on it, but you could have obviously have came back in if you wanted to and tried to get that price swinging. So why would we want to take that trade on? Well, we can see that in the background, gamma has stayed very positive, very, very positive indeed. I don't really want to be off this trade. You can see that in terms of the directionality we've had so far, it looks as if the spreads look very, very, very thin, very, very narrow. Well, spreads being narrow is bullish equities. And if we're bullish equities, yep, let's take a shot. Let's take a shot. And it's made some money. So whether we get scratched out, we could come back in. Whether we get scratched out, we could come back in. And with the volatility in line with the gamma, I quite like the idea of trying to see how far this has got. I don't think it's got a lot of distance. Why? Because we've just had the non-farm payrolls coming in, of course. So I don't think it's going to go a lot of distance with that number in the background. So we're always aware of overpaying into this. But probably a lot of people surprised that we're even able to get a buy trade at all today based on the non-farm coming out. Well, one of the other markets we have been able to buy into, of course, was that buy on the Treasuries. And the buy on Treasuries, we did get a little bit more of a discount on the retest. We were a little bit concerned about the underlying shape of it, but we were able to get a little bit of a discount into that as a storyline. And the takeaway from it has been okay. We know that we are trying to aim for about 25.5 today, or tomorrow, or sorry, Monday. And you know, on this failed auction here, you can see the idea of getting into that lower price. Remember what we talked about fast and slow? You see how many times it took us to go back to the top edge? Anybody this morning in classroom? You see how many times it took us to get to the top edge versus the bottom edge here? Versus the bottom edge here. You see that? So now I know that I can't sell this at the moment. I can't buy this at the moment until this happens. And when that happens, I can now look at that and say, well, that looks a lot slower. I can take my shot safely, just crossing into that to see what happens. So in other words, that gives me all the information I need to wait for this as a buy trade. Waiting for it as a buy trade has made a lot of sense. I've ended up with a buy trade, and I've ended up making some nice, easy money based on narratives. Touch on this in classroom today. Hopefully, again, it's something that you've thought about, but not maybe in the detail that we need to think about it.